there is a kind of power that this world does not understand. It does not shout, it does not demand, it does not fight for attention, and yet it moves mountains. It calms storms. It breaks chains. It is the power of silence. We live in an age where noise is mistaken for strength, where the loudest voice is believed to be the most important, where movement, constant restless movement, is seen as progress. But have you ever stopped long enough to ask, what if the greatest things in life are not achieved by striving, but by surrendering? You see, we are always reaching, always chasing, always grasping for what we think we need. We try to force doors open. We try to create our own opportunities. We fill every empty space with distractions because we fear what we might hear in the silence. But silence is not the absence of something. It is the presence of something greater. Some of you have been fighting battles in your own strength, exhausting yourselves, wearing yourselves thin, thinking that if you just push a little harder, things will finally fall into place. But what if the answer is not in pushing? What if the answer is in stepping back? What if everything you are striving for, peace, clarity, purpose, has been waiting for you all along, if only you would be still enough to receive it? The world will tell you to shout, to struggle, to prove yourself, but wisdom calls in a whisper. Truth moves in stillness, and if you will embrace the silence, if you will trust the process, you will come to understand everything you were meant to have, everything that was always yours will come. Not by force, not by fear, but naturally. The weight of silence is something few truly understand. We live in a world that equates power with presence, with volume, with the ability to take up space and make oneself known. From the time we are young, we are taught that success belongs to the loudest, that influence is measured by how many people hear us speak. But there is a kind of strength that does not need to be announced, a force that does not need to demand attention, a power so great, so absolute, that it does not rush, does not panic, does not prove itself. It is silence. Silence carries a weight that most people cannot bear. It is heavy because it strips away everything superficial, everything we use to distract ourselves from reality. It forces us to confront who we really are when the noise is gone, when there is no applause, no validation, no one watching. It is in silence that we are tested, in silence that our real selves emerge. And that is why most people run from it. They drown themselves in entertainment, in endless conversations, in work, in anything that keeps them from being alone with their own thoughts. Because silence demands honesty, it demands stillness, it demands trust. And for many, that is too much to bear. But those who can sit in silence, those who can endure its weight without fear, are the ones who understand true strength. Because silence does not mean weakness. It does not mean absence. It does not mean defeat. It is a deliberate choice, a controlled restraint, a confidence that does not need to be spoken to be real. Silence is a man who knows he could speak, but chooses not to because his words are too valuable to be wasted. It is a woman who does not argue back, because she understands that wisdom does not fight for attention. It is the person who walks away from the noise of the world because they know that the loudest voice is rarely the one that carries truth. There is a story told of a warrior, strong and skilled, unmatched in battle. His name was feared, his victories undeniable. But in his old age, he was asked what the greatest lesson was that he had learned. He did not speak of war, of tactics, of the strength it took to defeat an enemy. Instead, he said, the strongest man is the one who can sit in silence and still be unshaken. Because true power is not found in shouting over others. It is not found in proving oneself through force. It is found in the quiet confidence of a soul that does not need external validation to know its own worth. Silence, when embraced, transforms a person. It refines them. It strips away the unnecessary and leaves only what is real. Those who understand this are never desperate. They are never frantic. They do not chase what is not theirs. They do not force things into existence. They simply wait, knowing that what is meant for them will come. And when it does, they will be ready, not because they fought for it with noise, but because they prepared for it in stillness. Most people fear silence because it reveals too much. It shows them the truth about themselves, about their motives, about the things they have tried so hard to ignore. But if you are willing to bear the weight of silence, if you are willing to sit in it, to listen, to learn, you will find that it is not empty. It is not lonely. It is full of wisdom, of clarity, of purpose. And when the time comes for you to move, to speak, to act, you will do so with a power that does not fade, a power that does not need to be announced, a power that is undeniable. That is the weight of silence, and only those who are strong enough to carry it will understand its worth. The illusion of control is one of the greatest deceptions we live under. We are raised to believe that if we work hard enough, strive long enough, and push with all our might, we can shape the world. We are told that success is the result of relentless effort, that our dreams are within reach if only we fight hard enough to claim them. And so we spend our lives grasping, chasing, forcing, believing that the more we do, the more we will achieve. But have you ever stopped to wonder, what if the greatest things in life were never meant to be taken by force? What if control is nothing more than a mirage, something we exhaust ourselves trying to hold on to, never realizing that it was never in our hands to begin with? Look around and you will see a world obsessed with control. People who manipulate, who scheme, who calculate every move in an attempt to bend life to their desires. We structure our days, we make our plans, we set our goals, and when things do not go the way we intended, we panic. We try harder, we push against the resistance, we convince ourselves that if we just do a little more, if we just try a little harder, we can force life into submission. But life does not work that way. The more you grasp for control, the more it slips through your fingers. The more you fight against the flow, the more exhausted you become. And at some point, you have to ask yourself, what if I was never supposed to control it in the first place? You see, we mistake movement for progress. We think that if we are always doing something, always in motion, we must be getting somewhere. But have you ever seen a man running in circles? He is moving, yes, but he is going nowhere. There are people who spend their entire lives running, striving, fighting, and yet they never arrive because they are chasing something that cannot be caught. They are trying to control what was never meant to be controlled. And in doing so, they miss the very things that were meant for them all along. There is a story of a man who spent years digging for treasure. He had heard rumors of great wealth hidden beneath the earth. And so he worked tirelessly day and night, convinced that if he just dug deep enough, he would find what he was looking for. He sacrificed everything, his time, his relationships, his health, because he believed that all his striving would eventually bring him what he desired. But what he did not know was that the treasure was never buried in the ground. It had been sitting in plain sight all along, waiting for him to see it. But he was too busy digging, too busy forcing, too busy trying to control the outcome to recognize that what he wanted was already within reach. How many of us live the same way? How many of us spend our days striving, pushing, exhausting ourselves in the pursuit of things that would come to us naturally if only we had the patience to wait? We try to force relationships, try to control people, try to manipulate circumstances to fit our own plans, all the while missing the fact that what is meant for us will not require force. What is truly ours will come, not through struggle, not through manipulation, but through surrender. But surrender is terrifying, isn't it? Because surrender means letting go. It means releasing the illusion of control. It means trusting that what is meant to be will be, even if it does not happen on our timeline. And that is the hardest thing for most people to do. Because we equate surrender with weakness, with passivity, with failure. But what if surrender was the ultimate act of strength? What if letting go was not giving up, but stepping into a deeper kind of wisdom? There are those who have spent their entire lives trying to force doors open that were never meant for them. They pound, they kick, they push with all their might, convinced that if they just try a little harder, the door will open. But the truth is, when a door is meant for you, it does not need to be broken down. It opens with ease. And when a door is not meant for you, no amount of effort will make it yours. The illusion of control makes us believe that we are the masters of our own fate. That if we are just strong enough, determined enough, we can shape life exactly the way we want it. But how many times have you planned for something, worked towards something, only to watch it fall apart in an instant? And how many times have you stumbled upon something you never planned for, something you never could have orchestrated, and yet it turned out to be exactly what you needed? That is the truth that most people refuse to accept. that no matter how much we strive, no matter how much we plan, we are not the ones in control. We never were. And the sooner we release that illusion, the sooner we embrace the beauty of what life is trying to bring us. Because life is not meant to be controlled. It is meant to be received. But only those who stop grasping, stop chasing, stop forcing will ever come to understand that a whisper is louder than thunder, but only to those who have ears to hear it. This world has trained us to believe that power must be loud, that truth must be forceful, that wisdom must announce itself with grand gestures and mighty displays. We equate volume with authority. We assume that the more noise something makes, the more valuable it must be. And so we chase after the loud voices, the ones that demand attention, the ones that fill every space with words, with opinions, with endless declarations of what is right and wrong. But the most powerful things in this world do not shout. They do not demand. They do not fight for space. They simply are. And those who are willing to listen will hear them. There is a reason the wind does not scream as it moves the tree. There is a reason the sun does not announce itself every morning, does not require applause as it rises. There is a reason the stars do not demand attention as they shine in the night sky. Power does not need to be loud. Truth does not need to force itself upon you. And yet we live in a time when people have lost the ability to recognize this. The world is filled with noise, constant, relentless noise. Voices competing to be heard, messages fighting for dominance, people believing that if they do not make themselves the center of attention, they will be forgotten. But real power is not in the noise. Real power is in the whisper, because a whisper is deliberate. A whisper is not meant for the crowd. It is meant for the one who is listening. It does not beg for attention. It does not force itself upon you. It waits. And those who are wise enough, patient enough, still enough will hear it. There's an old story of a man who sought wisdom. He traveled far and wide, sat at the feet of the greatest teachers, read every book he could find, listened to every lecture, filled his mind with knowledge. But still, he was restless. Still, he felt as if something was missing. So he climbed a great mountain where he had heard a wise old sage lived in solitude. When he reached the top, he found the old man sitting in silence, staring out over the vast expanse of the earth. The traveler asked, "Tell me the secret of wisdom." The old man did not respond. The traveler waited, growing impatient. He asked again, louder this time, "Tell me the secret of wisdom." Still, the old man said nothing. Frustrated, the traveler raised his voice, demanding, "Why won't you answer me?" Finally, the old man turned and spoke softly, barely above a whisper. And in that moment, the traveler understood, because wisdom does not shout. Truth does not fight to be heard. It is there always, waiting for those who are willing to listen. But most people never do. They are too busy chasing after noise, too busy looking for answers in all the wrong places, too busy filling the silence with their own voices, never realizing that the silence itself is the answer. A whisper is louder than thunder to the one who is listening. The world has convinced us that we must fight to be heard, that we must prove ourselves, that if we are not loud, we will be forgotten. But real power does not fear being overlooked. Real power does not need an audience. It is secure in itself. And that is why it is so rare. That is why so few find it, because most people are too distracted, too restless, too impatient to sit in the stillness long enough to hear it. There are those who live their entire lives searching for meaning, chasing after success, seeking approval from the world. They speak loudly. They make grand gestures. They surround themselves with people who will affirm them, who will praise them, who will feed their need to be seen. But in the end, they are left empty, because what they were looking for was never in the noise. It was in the whisper. The greatest truths in life will not chase you down. They will not compete for your attention. They will not fight for space in a world already filled with distractions. They will wait, and if you are wise enough to be still, if you are willing to silence the noise, if you are humble enough to listen, you will hear them. But most people won't, because listening requires patience. It requires trust. It requires the kind of stillness that is terrifying to those who have built their lives on noise. And so they will keep running, keep shouting, keep filling the space with words, never realizing that the answer they seek has been there all along. Soft, steady, unwavering, a whisper that could shake the foundations of the earth if only they would stop long enough to hear it. The noise of the world is deafening. It is everywhere, pressing in from all sides, demanding attention, insisting on being heard. It fills the streets, the screens, the conversations. It never stops, never slows, never allows a moment of rest. It tells you what to think, what to believe, what to want. It pulls you in 100 different directions, each voice louder than the last, each one claiming to be the most important. And in the middle of it all, your soul is calling to you, but you can't barely hear it. The world shouts, but wisdom speaks in whispers. The truth does not compete with the noise. It does not raise its voice to match the chaos. It does not fight for space in a crowded room. It waits. It is not desperate to be heard. It does not force itself upon you. It speaks softly, knowing that only those who truly seek it will ever hear it. And that is why so many people go through life lost, confused, restless. They are listening to the wrong voices. They are being pulled by the noise, carried along by the currents of distraction, missing the one thing that truly matters. There is something terrifying about silence, isn't there? It strips away the illusions. It leaves you alone with yourself. And that is why most people run from it. They fill every moment with sound, with movement, with entertainment, anything to keep from facing what is inside. But the noise of the world will never satisfy. It will never bring peace. It will never give you the answers you are looking for. It will only keep you busy, keep you distracted, keep you restless. And as long as you are caught up in it, you will never hear the voice that truly matters. There is an old story of a man who wanted to hear the voice of truth. He had spent years listening to the noise, teachers, philosophers, leaders, all telling him different things, all shouting over each other, each claiming to have the answers. And the more he listened, the more confused he became. He longed for something real, something steady, something that would not change with the times. So he left. He walked away from the crowds, away from the noise, and found a quiet place where he could be alone. And there, in the silence, he finally heard it, a voice. Not loud, not demanding, but steady, sure, unmistakable. It had been there all along. He had just never been still enough to listen. The world is loud because it is desperate. It shouts because it knows its words have no real power. It must keep you constantly engaged, constantly distracted, because the moment you stop and think, the illusion starts to fall apart. That is why it fills every space, why it never allows room for silence. Because in silence, you begin to see clearly. You begin to realize how much of what you have been chasing is meaningless. You begin to recognize the voices that have been leading you astray. And most of all, you begin to hear the voice you were meant to hear all along. But hearing is not enough. You must choose which voice you will listen to. The noise will always be there, calling you back, trying to pull you into its endless cycle of distraction. It will tempt you with urgency, with excitement, with the feeling that you are missing out if you do not engage. But the truth does not work that way. It does not beg. It does not force itself upon you. It waits. And only those who are willing to turn away from the noise will ever truly find it. Most people never do. They spend their lives caught in the chaos, moving from one distraction to the next, always searching, never finding. They wonder why they feel empty, why they are never at peace, why nothing ever seems to be enough. But they never stop long enough to hear the answer, because the answer does not come in the noise. It comes in the silence. It comes in the stillness. It comes in the quiet moments when everything else fades away, and the only voice left is the one that was speaking all along. But few are willing to listen, because listening requires stillness. It requires trust. It requires turning away from everything the world tells you is important and choosing something deeper, something unseen. And that is not easy. The noise is seductive. It makes you feel important, makes you feel like you are doing something, going somewhere. But it is an illusion, a carefully constructed lie designed to keep you from ever hearing what truly matters. And so the choice is yours. Keep listening to the world, keep running in circles, keep drowning in the noise, or step away, be still, be silent, and hear what has been calling you all along. Waiting is one of the hardest things for a person to do. We are not patient by nature. We want things now, immediately, on our timeline, according to our plans. We are taught that waiting is wasted time, that stillness is unproductive, that if we are not moving, we are falling behind. And so we rush, we push, we force, we chase after things that are not yet ready, trying to make them happen before their time. And in doing so, we disrupt the natural order of things. We try to take what was always meant to come to us in its own time, and in the process, we make a mess of what could have been beautiful. But life does not work according to our demands. The things that are truly meant for us do not come because we panic, because we push, because we fight. They come when we are ready. They come when the time is right. And the only way to receive them is to wait. But waiting is hard. It feels like nothing is happening. It feels like we are being forgotten, like the world is moving forward while we are stuck. And that fear, the fear of missing out, of being left behind, of losing what we think should be ours, drives us to act before we should. A farmer does not pull at the roots of his crops trying to make them grow faster. He does not dig them up every day to see if they are ready. He plants the seed, he waters it, and then he waits. Because he understands that growth is a process. That fruit only comes in its season. And if he tries to force it, if he tries to rush it, he will ruin everything. But we do not think like that. We believe we can speed things up, that we can take shortcuts, that if we just push a little harder, things will fall into place, but they don't. Instead, we exhaust ourselves, we create unnecessary struggles, and we end up further from what we wanted than when we started. There is a reason the most valuable things in life take time. Diamonds are not made in an instant. They are formed under pressure, over years, in darkness, unseen. A tree that grows fast is weak, but a tree that grows slow, steady, deeply rooted can withstand any storm. But we do not want to wait. We want immediate results, and so we settle. We take the first opportunity that comes instead of the right one. We rush into relationships that are not meant for us. We force doors open that were never meant to be ours. We accept things that are less than what we truly need because we cannot bear the waiting. And then we wonder why we feel empty, why things don't last, why what we work so hard for does not satisfy us. What is meant for you will not pass you by. But that does not mean it will come when you demand it. It will come when you are ready to receive it. And sometimes that means you have to wait, not because you are being punished, not because you are forgotten, but because there are things that must happen first, growth that must take place, lessons that must be learned, things that must be prepared, not just outside of you, but within you. Because what good is receiving something if you are not yet the person who can handle it? A door that opens too soon is just as dangerous as a door that never opens at all. Timing matters. Readiness matters. You do not give a child the responsibility of a grown man because he is not ready to carry it. And yet we demand things from life before we are ready, thinking that we know best, that we understand the full picture, but we don't. And that is why we must trust the process. Waiting is not passive. It is not sitting around doing nothing. It is preparing. It is growing. It is becoming the person who will be ready when the time comes. And that is the part we often miss. We think waiting means wasting time, but it doesn't. It means using this time wisely, letting it shape us, refine us, prepare us. Because when what is meant for you finally arrives, you will not have to force it. It will fit. It will flow. It will come naturally, but only if you have the patience to wait. Only if you trust that what is truly yours cannot be taken from you. Only if you believe that the timing of your life is not random, that there is purpose in the waiting, that there is something happening even when you cannot see it. Because the ones who wait, the ones who do not rush, the ones who trust the process, they are the ones who receive what is truly meant for them. And when they do, they will understand why they had to wait. They will see that every delay, every moment of stillness, every time they wondered if they had been forgotten was all leading them to something far greater than what they would have settled for had they tried to take it by force.